Okay, so I thought first the easiest thing to do would be to show you what it is that I was doing for the main project, so you can see it. So, yeah, all of this is technically ASCII art. Okay, so if I go to the info screen, it all comes up underneath with all of the text, and it's all aligned to a certain width, and it's supposed to look pretty because I got sick and tired of looking like boring screens.
That's pretty cool.
And then if I press play, it takes me to the one bit of the game that I've pretty much finished so far. So it's like a card matching game. Keyboard lag. So if I type in which card it is I want, it then flips it over and shows you which card it is.
Heck yeah.
Yep. And then it's not a match, so it flips them back over.
Cool.
So yeah, once you've got 8 matches, which is the entire board, it will then end the game and say you've won, and then it counts how many turns you've got as well. So, but that's not the important part. That's just to show you what it all looks like. Okay. So, best way to explain it. So originally I was doing it with just normal C outs, but I kept getting issues where doing it line by line with C out. But I kept getting issues where this is all made up of like lots of slashes and bars and things like that, and it kept recognizing them as like operational symbols and things like that. So I found if you use this here, R speech mark bracket, and then at the end bracket speech mark and close it, anything you put between those two brackets is displayed on the screen exactly how you type it out in the code. So then I went through and I was making all of the what I call assets for the game, because it's all technically just like characters on a screen. So this is the menu, this is the opening title, even the pages for the information. And then later on when I get to it, I'll do the same thing with like speech and text and things like that. And then you can put all of those inside functions, so that when you go to the source, it literally just calls the functions to get it to display them. Right? So to get these designed as well, the way I had to understand it was each character is technically the same size in the console. So they all look different, but they are all drawn inside the exact size, same size boxes. Treat each one of those characters as if it was its own pixel. So pick how wide you want your screen to be. So on this, it's 79 characters wide, and the actual image is 77 because I don't like it when it butts up against the edge. So I have a 2-character border so that you've got that little bit of space on that side. And yeah, that's the gist of it. You just create these functions with all of these bits in there within these R brackets, and it will just display it exactly how you've typed it. Okay? Now, to make all these little bits and pieces, you can design it yourself within those boxes you've created, but don't have time for that stuff. So I've got a couple of websites where I've been using to generate certain things. So I'll put these down in the chat so that you can save them for later. This one creates titles using predefined fonts in ASCII art. And I think there was about 315 different combinations of stuff that you can use. It's great, there's loads of different things you can use. So one that I put together before this. Now I'm not 100% certain if all of them are going to work exactly the same, so it's going to take some trial and error to work out what you like, but these are all literally written as characters. So if you copy that into your code like that within those brackets, it should come out like that. Okay? The second thing that I'm planning on using when I get to the actual dialogue sections is this one here. And what this does, it converts an actual image into ASCII art. And if you use this box down here, you can set the output size. So to test it out, grab this random image and chopped out as much of the white space as I could to make it smaller in Paint. Just cropped it. And then input it in and set the image size as 77 characters wide, because that's what the rest of my program. And, oh, no, share that again. And it actually ends up coming out like that. So this one didn't come out 100% perfect, but these little sections here you can tweak with your own characters to kind of neaten it up a bit.
You can probably do some cool stuff like combining that with clearing the screen and stuff.
Yeah.
Make little GIFs or something.
Yeah. Well, when I was changing, you know, when it was on the info screens on the game that I'm building, every single time it's clearing the screen, calling the function to put that image in the top, and then calling the new function for each page, so it looks like you're scrolling through pages, but it's actually redrawing the entire thing each time. But this one as well, once you've uploaded the file, you can do, so if that box is unchecked, it actually comes out like this, and then you click this to view it in full screen, and you literally just copy and paste it because it's like a text document. But because we're using the console, the background's going to be black anyway, so if you invert it, you'll see what it's going to look like in the console window. Yeah. And then literally just copy and paste it into the code and put it in there. So this one here is actually, I did 2 separate images and just put them in the same box, because these are 2 different fonts and 2 different sizes. I think that's pretty much all I can think of at the moment. The only advice I would give with these is try and work in odd numbers. So always do, like, you know, 65, 67, 69, 71. Don't do an even number. If you use an odd number, I don't know if you play Minecraft, most people do at some point or another, but one of the key things of building in Minecraft is having a midpoint so that you can base everything around it. If you do this with an odd number, you'll have one character that is the exact center of the image, so you'd be able to position things correctly. Right, so when we was doing like leaderboards, so this was before I learned about the R bracket thing to use. This was when I was doing it line by line. Okay, so there we go. That's what the leaderboard does. You enter your name and you enter your score up here, and then it positions it correctly within the leaderboard. So it's the same kind of thing where you plan out how many characters wide you want it to be and work within those bounds. So then what the code's actually doing, so this loops it for each score and name in these lists. Just gotta minimize that. There we go. So at the top here, it's creating the top of the leaderboard. You only need to create that once. So that's all defined there. And then underneath that, you'll have the for loop, which goes through the scores and the names and does it for every single one in the list. The gist of it is, you basically, there we go, print out. There we go, so that's what it does. Okay, so first it's going to print out the border next to the name. Then, there we go, the border, then it prints the name. And then after that, it works out what the size of the player name is. 24. That's right. Okay, 24 is the gap between here to here. Okay, so what it does is it works out how long the player name is and minuses that from the gap, and then prints the border and the player name, and then repeats printing a space for every single remaining part of this number is. And then at the end of it, it will print the score and then the last border. Does that make sense? And then once it's gone through all of the player names and scores, it will then print the bottom and it'll be done. So you end up with that. So do like that. So yeah, it iterates through all of the names, works out how much gap is left to fill out the width that you've specified, then prints the score. It also
Nice.
works out how long the score is and removes that from the blank space as well to make sure it all lines up properly. These are all on GitHub if you want to go and have a look afterwards, but that's basically the gist of it, getting it positioned.
What happens if you have like a really long name or a really long score?
If you have a really long name or a really long score, then this will end up jutting out of the side. So bear that in mind with these. You might want to, when the player is entering their name or score, put a limit on how many characters long they're able to be. Either that or just have a massively wide screen. So this was only a short, like, I think the total of it was maybe about 28, 30 characters in total. Whereas in the new game, I'm like at nearly 80 characters wide, so I've got plenty of space. Yeah, and if you look here, you can see what I'm on about with the midpoint as well. It helps with positioning if you've got an odd number, because then you can work out exactly where the middle point of everything is. I've got an obsession with symmetry and things like that to make things look pretty. So, yeah, that's the gist of it. Anything else?
I'm just spending time making ASCII art now.